Well, hey there folks, how you doing? Simeon here, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Well, I thought I'd do this interesting video for you here. We're out at Silbury Hill, obviously at night, in beautiful Wiltshire, UK. And I wanted to make this video for you. You can see Silbury Hill behind me there. This is the largest and oldest earth mound, man-made earth mound in Europe. It's about 5,000 years old, and still no one knows exactly what the purpose was. There are a lot of different theories, but we know this has been the site of a lot of very interesting activities over the years related to crop circles, ETs, UFOs, and things. There have been a lot of crop circles, obviously, around the Silbury Hill area over the years. And this is where I actually physically saw my first crop circles back in 1997 when I came here on Ron Russell's crop circle tour, and there in the field just to the north of us here was that huge so-called Koch snowflake, six-sided star snowflake fractal, and I got to walk in it. It was huge. It was the diameter of a football field. So this is also the location of my first physical crop circle encounter. This is the site where Paul and Sonia, as I wrote about in Black Swan Ghosts, had their terrifying encounter about 25 years ago or so in the early 1990s with some very inexplicable phenomena that seemed to start right on the other side of the road there in one of the fields. They were out here at about midnight and they noticed this fog come over the whole area very suddenly. And then these lights came down from the hill on the other side. First they thought, it must be a car or something, but you usually don't have cars in the middle of wheat fields. And these lights floated right over the top of the field and then crossed over the road and came up Silbury Hill behind me here. They were standing up there with another fellow. There were some teenagers there who had already gone to sleep, and they couldn't wake them up, even as these lights approached. And Paul said it was like time just stopped. I mean, he said it was one of the most terrifying experiences of his entire life, because as something was coming up the hill, they just couldn't tell what it was. And it was these lights, and they kind of approached and then kind of came up eye level with Paul and Sonia and then receded back down, moved around a little bit. Paul and Sonia seemed to lose track of time. They had a friend up there named Rob, they said. And you can read about this more in detail in Black Swan Ghosts, or go to the video. I put up the interview with them on the Black Swan Ghosts webpage. It's in witness videos. And the interesting thing about this entire encounter is they said that there was someone who came up the hill after this very strange, unexplained, scary encounter. Someone who came up the hill who had been parked across in the little rest stop, the lay-by as it's called here in the UK, where the cars are going by. And he had seen the whole thing. This person, Jamie, actually contacted me on the YouTube page where this video is posted, the Paul and Sonia interview. And he said, indeed, yes, the video was correct. He did see the lights, and they moved around at the end. And he was also a third witness to this whole set of events. But it got even more interesting because, as Paul and Sonia told us, as these events were unfolding, a car approached from the Marlborough direction, which is to the east of us here, a few miles away. And the lights condensed into one light and went into the bushes as this vehicle approached. And as the car came by, it swooped around and went behind the car and followed it for a bit. And the researcher in the car happened to be named Paul Weige, a crop circle researcher, who unfortunately is no longer with us physically here. He passed away many years ago. But he did lecture about this. He talked about seeing these lights approaching a wall of fog towards Silbury Hill, and then these lights came out of a bush and went behind his car. So we have 4 witnesses to these lights. It's very interesting. Now, there's one other piece of information related to Paul and Sonia's encounter, which is also very interesting. Is they said later that day, the next morning after the encounter, the British military closed off the entire area for 2 days for some unexplained reason, right around the Silbury Hill area. So if that is connected to their encounter, we don't know. What we do know now, just for some very recent news items, just this July 2018, is that the information came out based on someone's Freedom of Information request to the MOD, the Ministry of Defense, that there were actually not just one UFO desk, but 2 UFO desks. We know one of the desks because Nick Pope, who worked for that UFO desk here in the MOD, did say that there was a UFO research desk. He worked at it, and the purpose was mainly to deflect public interest in the phenomena, to label the people interested in this subject, as enthusiasts or UFO buffs, some sort of derogatory terms like that, to dissuade people from being interested in it, kind of like Project Blue Book in the United States, in the 50s and 60s. But the second desk's job was to try to find out a lot more information about these vehicles, the craft, and actually if they could get a piece of one of them, somewhat like Hal Puthoff described to us at the IRVA SSE conference last June. See the other video above that I made about that piece. So you had one effort by the MOD to dissuade public interest. The second was to see if they could get some of this technology before British adversaries got pieces of this technology. You can imagine the consequences of whoever gets this stuff first and figures it out. Anyway, it's another little piece of information related to this story. Now, in the field right across from us where the lights originated, or the next field over, if you'll remember, it was Colin Andrews who told our group, our crop circle tour group, that, and this is also written about in Black Swan Ghost, he said that he was at a cocktail party in the Washington, D.C. area, and that someone who had worked for President Clinton came up to him and said that he had something that he wanted to tell Colin, but he couldn't tell him directly. It would be breaking some sort of national security directive. So he said his wife would approach Colin, and the wife did approach Colin during the party and said, can I talk to you outside for a second? I want to let you know that this area is under 24-hour surveillance by the U.S. military because of the amount of extraterrestrial activity that goes on in this area. That it was related to a particular species that had activities under the North Sea, and this was a portal, an actual portal, this area where they emerged from. And we'll talk about more in future videos about why these objects and the crop circles act like portals. I mean, I think there's some very specific scientific ideas behind why this would happen related to symmetry and symmetry breaking and so forth, and we'll get into that in some other videos. But in any case, it's quite fascinating, you have all these connections to Silbury Hill. There was also another incident where a fellow was taking a break who was in the military camping just nearby on the other side of Silbury Hill from here, and something kept playing with his tent. It was too fast for him. Every time he went out he couldn't see it, but he waited by the tent door and he got a glimpse of some very tall, what he felt was extraterrestrials, didn't look quite human. And then as the story goes, as he told it, he called his dad, and no sooner was he at his dad's house, just a little while later, he lived in the area, then the Royal Air Force showed up. 2 fellows from the Royal Air Force showed up and had a book of different species of extraterrestrials, and they pointed at the book and said, which one was it? Okay. This is also the area just right across from here where we had that story from also about 20 years ago or so, maybe a little less, where a policeman was, driving early in the morning and saw some humans or humanoids moving over the field much faster than humans would be able to run. And he said they were also very tall, just like this guy in the tent who was camping here. So we have a lot of very interesting stories right from this area. right from good old Silbury Hill right behind us. In any case, if you would like to learn more about the Paul and Sonia encounters and the stories that Colin and Andrew told us about the field right across the road here, you can watch my entire interview at blackswanghost.com. Just go up to the witness videos link at the top of the page, and you can see all of my witness videos of the original witnesses that were the basis of the Black Swan Ghost book. I hope you've enjoyed this. As usual, put your comments below in the box, and we'll be talking to you soon. Take care for now, and bye-bye.